Good morning, everyone. I'm Amanda Miller-Lau. I'm an account manager at Unity. I specialize in senior living. I'm going to start this morning with some housekeeping. We will have a live question and answer session at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions as we go through the presentation, please put them in the chat and we'll answer at the end of the session. This session is being recorded and we will send out a copy of this presentation to you. Jack, would you like to introduce yourself?
Morning, Amanda. Morning, everyone. My name is Jack. I'm the program manager for senior living and security at Unity. Thank you for joining today.
We're going to start and briefly talk about Unity. Unity is a privately owned national company. Our head office and call center is located in Newmarket, Ontario. We have a branch office in Burlington to serve southwestern Ontario and across the country in Montreal, Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver. And we also have some U.S. presence in Phoenix, Arizona. Unity has been in business since 2004. We started as Unity Telecom, and it has evolved over the years and has become Unity Connected Solutions in 2014, as all technologies have come together. Unity prides itself on excellent customer service, and our call center is open 24/7, 365 days a year, which is good to know. If there is a problem, Unity can always be reached. Jack, do you want to talk about our senior living department you lead?
Sure. Our department started around 8 years ago, and it's a dedicated senior living team. We handle solutions for the communities. We handle their e-call systems, telephony, data networking, security, door access, cameras, and infrastructure cabling. And on the dedicated team, we have sales engineers, solution design, project management, technicians, support and service technicians, and of course a Mac desk that Amanda talked about that's you can contact anytime. So today we're going to talk about security, and these are some of the points that we're going to hit on. So wander management, we've discussed in the previous presentations, but we're going to get a little more in depth. And then we're going to talk about physical security. So that's your electric strikes on your doors, your mag locks, door contacts, your options for keypads and fobs, and of course, cameras.
Thank you, Jack. We're going to start today with wander management. This is important in a variety of different communities, as all with the same reason, to keep residents safe within their building. Wander management can be put on many different doors in a community. We have seen some communities with aging in place, and it's just on the exit doors on the ground floor and parking levels is where they choose to put their wander system. In other locations, it's just on a memory care floor. We have also seen buildings where all exits, as well as interior doors within the community, usually to staff areas, where the resident should not be, as well as a lockdown memory care floor. Therefore, the whole building is protected for the wandering resident to be kept safe. The reason we see such a variety of different needs in wander management depends on the community and what is best for their residents. Some retirement communities have an aging in place philosophy. A resident moves into the community as an independent living resident, and over time, they start to age and may have some memory care loss. Putting a tag on them is sometimes the first step prior to moving them to a memory care floor. More specifically, we've seen in a community where a husband and wife moves in, and over time, one spouse starts to have memory problems, but the couple is not ready to separate or move to the memory care floor. By putting a tag on the spouse having the memory issues, it helps to protect them and allows the staff to monitor when they're trying to elope. Other communities have a locked floor that require it to be protected all exits, which should include their stairwell as well as the elevator. Not only can the system protect the residents and let the staff know when a resident is leaving, but some systems we provide can also give alerts and warnings if a resident is loitering in a certain area day after day. We have heard some residents will sit by a door or an elevator trying to see how they can leave. By having this loitering feature, this will alert the staff if a resident is going to the same place every day. And in some cases, it's even at the same time. Then the staff can redirect the resident during that time away from where they're trying to elope. Elevators is a location of concern in many communities, and Jack will now go into detail about how elevators can be protected.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, elevators are definitely a big concern, especially if memory care floors are not on the ground floor. So we've installed a bunch of different solutions for elevators. One of the simple ones is basically you just need to present a fob to call the elevator to that floor. Some communities go even more in depth. Not only do you have to use an elevator to call the fob up when you enter the elevator, you also have to put in a code into a keypad to allow the elevator to go up or down. In some instances, we do put a sensor just on the frame. And what it does is all the fobs and all the tags have rules set. So, these people are allowed in this area, and these people are allowed to go into the elevator. And so if there's a tag that goes past that sensor that's not supposed to be there, the elevator will not go up and down until somebody has come and cleared and removed that tag from that area. Again, you have options. It doesn't have to be a fob to call the elevator. It could also be a keypad. So there are multiple ways to ensure that the elevators are being monitored safely, and only people who are allowed to go up and down on the elevators are entering. It's not just about memory care floors, though, with elevator. It's also access to the building. Sometimes communities, the only entrance to the building is through the parking garage. And so you could have multiple guests coming through there, and after hours, you maybe want to control where guests can go. So if somebody enters the building from the parking garage and they don't have a fob, the elevator will only bring them to the main floor. And from there, they will have to go and see the concierge to gain access to the rest of the building. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Jack. We're going to talk a little bit about at each nursing station for the water management. So at each nursing station in the community, they can have a small screen, which you can see in the presentation now. Sometimes in a community, the staff may be a casual worker and not know all the residents by their face or name. So the residents wearing a tag can have their picture loaded into the software. This allows the staff to be able to see what the resident looks like, as well as the door location is where they're trying to exit. Some communities like each of the nursing stations to have this feature. So if someone exits the stairway door, for example, the staff on the next floor can identify that resident and help them back to their floor or room. The screen will also give the information if there's a loiterer, which is important for staff to understand, as I spoke about earlier. The other information for the staff to know is if the battery in the tag is getting low. This would not be good if the battery ran out and the resident was not protected. By having this alert, the tag can be changed on the resident when the battery is low. Please also note that the water management system can integrate with the nurse call system as well. So if your staff is receiving alerts on a smartphone, some of the features from the nursing station screen may be able to be pushed to the smartphone. Or if your staff is carrying a deck phone, alerts can be sent to that as well with the information the nurse call provides, either with voice or text. Jack will now talk about tags.
We have multiple options for tags, as you can see the two different pictures here. One of the most important things about all the tags we offer is that it's a secure band. So that means you can't just easily take it off. The one on the left is the more standard tag that we've used, but we've now also offered this newer tag on the right that you can see it resembles kind of like a fitness device, and it kind of is moving away from that institutional hospital bracelet look. All our tags are waterproof and they're easy to clean. They're adjustable. I know obviously sometimes they need to go really small or sometimes they need to be a little larger, and so you don't have to worry about that. One size is able to adjust. And just depending on the tag, and if you have questions, we can go through them, but some have like a red LED that kind of is a visual indication that the tag is active. Some communities don't like that. They don't want it to be as obvious. They just want an alert. And like Amanda said, we can integrate it to your nurse call system so that if a tag is an alarm, you can get your alerts, whether it's on your portable phones, your app, your computers, etc. Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, and I think it's great that where you can have something that looks like a Fitbit as well. The resident doesn't, it just seems very normal to them. Next, we're going to talk about door security. Physical door security can take a long time to determine what is right for your community. We've helped communities that are building new locations, and there are many changes as they go through the process of what doors need to be protected and what doors are free egress. There are also laws which determine what doors need to be fire doors and so on. Unity can help install physical security to protect your community, whether it's entry or exit doors or internal doors throughout that may require access to certain staff or residents. Elevators is another location where access control may need to be in place. Please note that the door security may be integrated to your nurse call system and send alerts to a phone or phones if there's a breach. We're going to start to talk about electric strike doors. Jack, start.
So, especially in these communities, there's a lot of staff, and so one of the things is scheduling tags and access. So if you're just an independent community, and Amanda will touch on maglocks next, you won't need those. You will need electric strikes. So what it does is, let's say you have a door where you're allowing people to exit freely. So it's a free egress one way. So that means you can push and exit. And then what happens is the door closes and latches. And to get back in, you'll need a fob. So an electric strike provides the ability for you to exit freely from one side. And maybe it's an exit door to outside. And then to enter back, the door obviously latches, locks automatically, and then you'll need to present your fob or keypad or punch in a code if it's a keypad to enter back into the building. So it's a safe way to keep a door secure while still allowing free exit permissions. And Amanda will now touch on maglocks.
Thank you, Jack. Maglocks are often seen in memory care units. Maglocks require access on both sides of the door, so that's what's different between the electric strikes and the maglocks. A fob or a keypad will be on each side of the locked door for a staff member or perhaps a visitor to enter and exit that area. We have also seen maglocks on front doors of a building where a keypad is required to enter and exit. It all depends on the community's needs. Maglocks are sometimes seen on stair doors, depending on the residents of that particular floor. And please note that maglocks are connected to your fire system. So if there is a fire in the building, all the maglocks will drop and for evacuation purposes. So anything that you want secure, often a maglock is what is put in place. Next, Jack's going to talk about door sensors.
So these door sensors are actually wireless door sensors. These are to help monitor doors that are not part of the access control system. So for example, some communities use them. Some communities have patios on every floor, and they have patio doors and they're common area doors. And the staff would really like to know if somebody goes out onto the patio after hours, especially during the winter, 7, 8 p.m. They just want to know if somebody's gone out there. You can put a wireless door sensor on there. You can program it on a schedule, and you can program it who alerts at what time. So these are really great because they're wireless. They're easy to install. You can move them around as well because they're wireless. So if you have a different need and you don't think you really need one on the store any longer, you could always move it, reprogram it within seconds, and now you have a door sensor at the area that you need. So these are really great for doors that are not being monitored by an electric strike or maglock, etc.
Yeah, it gives much flexibility to the community, which is great. I'm going to talk about elevators. Jack talked about when it was wander management and touched on a little bit for access control. Elevator access can be programmed in a community in many ways. Some elevators have a card reader within the cab, which allows to go to a specific floor or to multiple floors. An example would be in a retirement home with a memory care floor. And it's just that floor which requires an access card to exit that floor. Any other floor is free egress, so visitors or residents can have free access to any of the other floors. In another building, we've seen where there's a parking level, as Jack touched on earlier, where all visitors can get into the elevator, but without a card, it will only go to the first floor, and they must sign in, which is important. Or we've seen communities that are sharing with other businesses on the main floor, such as a restaurant. Well, the elevator will only go to the floor unless a fob is used. Or in another case, there was medical offices in the building, so the medical staff only have access to their particular floor. Another example is a community that has rental suites and condos that are owned above. The residents do not have access to the higher floors where the condos are, but the staff may because they're providing services. Please understand that elevators can be programmed for general use or for a specific person. And now Jack will talk about programming of the fobs.
So your fob is what gives you access to all the doors. One of the greatest things about our system is you can program. Let's say you had a fobs or card readers on even like the pool area or certain common area rooms. You could program who gets access to those and what times. So maybe the pool is only open till 6 p.m. So all the staff and all the residents have access to the pool, but at 6 p.m. your fob no longer works until the next morning when you're allowed entry again. Maybe some staff aren't allowed on the memory care floor, like maybe just memory care workers allowed up there, and maybe just cleaning staff. So only they would have access, and the managers. So it really makes it easy to control who's going where in the building for safety. You can program guest fobs. So if family members come and you don't want them to have access to anywhere but the floor that they're going to visit their family member, it's really easy to program the fob right there, guest access, and allows them to just safely go to where they're headed and not kind of wander off and go throughout the building. So maybe on that point, you want to touch on suite doors?
So suite doors, the trend for suite doors in retirement communities is to have one fob, not only at the entrance door, but they can also use it on their resident suite door. So they would only have to carry one fob and they wouldn't have to carry a key for their suite. This also helps protect the building because if a resident moves out and takes their key with them, then they do have the key for the door. But if they take the fob with them, it can be eliminated from the system. So once the resident is gone, the fob can then be disengaged. Or if a staff member leaves that has a master key, and we've often seen this is the case where a building has to be rekeyed. So by having fobs everywhere rather than a master key, the building does not need to be rekeyed. The program for that particular staff member just has to be eliminated in the software. And just a note, if you're using keys right now, it is possible to change to fobs on suite doors without much disruption to your residents and staff. The next topic we're going to talk about is cameras. There are different philosophies when it comes to cameras. We work with one group of retirement communities where their policy is that this is a home for their residents, and they only have cameras on exit doors, one in the lobby and in the parking garage, but nothing on the resident floors. We work with another group where they've had an incident of a stranger getting into their community, and they want to make sure that every part of their communities can be seen. So if there is a problem, they can either see it live or they can look back at the incident no matter where it was, inside the resident floor or in common areas, outside living space, or so on. There are different cameras for different locations, and we can help you with that. Sometimes there's a specific view you need to see outside. Perhaps it's at a loading door, or there's a front door so staff can see who wants to enter. Other locations may need a wider view, such as a dining room. You want to be able to see everyone while they're eating. Hallways are covered with cameras depending on the length and the shape of the hallway. Another type is used in the pool, so if you want to see the length and width of the pool to make sure everyone is safe. And again, we can help determine what is the right camera in the right area for your community needs and budget. And now Jack's going to talk about how you can see incidents.
Just to touch on that, Amanda, too, I think what we've been seeing a lot more of lately, too, is cameras in the med rooms. We had the one community where there's a lot of break-ins, and they specifically targeted the med rooms, right?
Yes,
So
correct.
now we're seeing communities put cameras in there as well. Okay, so the live feed. So this is a really helpful tool. During the day there's tons of staff, so a lot of these areas there's people walking around. But if for whatever reason you wanted to see what was going on where one of your cameras were, you're able to pull up the live feed. A lot of the times we'll see this loaded at the front desk, so the concierge has access to it, the managers. And what communities are doing more often now is they're also putting this live feed up at the nursing station. Because the reality is a lot of these communities do not have concierge 24 hours a day. So after a certain time, it's the nursing staff who has to make sure that the community is safe. And when somebody comes to the front door, they want to see who's there, or when somebody's at the back entrance, they can see who's there. So the live feed is very helpful for that. And like Amanda touched on, of course, if an incident does happen, you could always go back to when you think the incident happened and pull the feed from there. And I think Amanda's going to touch on one more camera that we offer.
Yeah, it's a temperature camera. So during COVID, when you walk into a community now, you have to take a temperature of your staff and your visitors coming in. There is cameras available that will take everyone's temperature as they enter. As you can see on the screen, there are green squares for most of the people on the screen, and then there's one red square. So you can see that that particular person on the screen has a higher temperature, so you're alerted for that particular person. So if somebody does walk in and you get an alert because they have red, you can ask them to leave the community because they do have a temperature, which is a good tool, especially in the environment that we are in right now. Now we're going to move away from cameras, and Jack is going to talk about situational awareness.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, so as we kind of talked through some of the points there, we kept mentioning that you could integrate back to your nurse call system. So in the previous presentations, we talked about the SARA system, which is our nurse call system, and we can integrate it to the access control system, the cameras, fire panels. So that's a big safety thing as well. So if a smoke detector were to go off, it could alert and could let all the staff know, and so they could safely follow the fire plan and exit the building. It's also a mass notification system. So what that it means is you can send out, for example, let's say you wanted to notify all the staff that was on the floor of a situation or to report back to the nursing station. You would just log into your SARA dashboard, you would create a message and you would send it out to all their phones, and the SARA system would call them for you and relay your message. And so that way you're not sitting there and calling everybody one by one and relaying your message. So it's a pretty powerful tool that you can use. All right, Amanda, you can go on to the next slide. So we just wanted to touch on some more items that are available on the nurse call system, which can help with the security and safety. You have bed pads and chair sensors. So they're exactly what they sound like. If you have a resident who's maybe in a wheelchair and if something, fortunately something happens and they fall and you want to be alerted instantly, the pad will alert you through, again, your portable phones or your app to let you know that happened. There's also motion sensors. A lot of communities put those down their parking garages, especially for after hours. If somebody sneaks in through the gate somehow, or any kind of movement that shouldn't be in an area, motion sensors are connected to your nurse call, and again, you'd be alerted right away. And then there's wall buttons. So these come in different sizes and have all kinds of different buttons, but basically we saw one community where the concierge desk was kind of separated from the rest of the building. So they were kind of alone a lot, even during the day. And so they installed a wall button actually underneath the desk, and they were using it as an emergency. So if the concierge felt threatened by any way or needed help or there's an emergency, all they had to do was press this button, and again, it alerted through the nurse call system. Thanks, Amanda.
you, Jack. We're now at our question and answer time. So if you have any questions, please put them into the chat. And we have covered a lot of things today in a very general area. And as we've mentioned throughout, every community is different, and we can certainly help you with your community needs on any of the topics that we've covered today or in past webinars.
Okay, we have a few questions here, Amanda.
Okay.
Sorry. Who are you partnered with for your wander management solutions? Do you want to take that?
So we have a couple of wander management systems that we work with, so we have Accutech and we also use Roam Alert. So depending on the community, they have different features and different integrations to what you're looking for. So that's Roam Alert and Accutech is what we use.
Okay. How easy are the fobs to program, and who programs them after the installation is complete? Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Do you want me to take that one? Okay.
Yeah, you take it. It's your team to program.
Yeah, so during the initial installation, my team would work with the team on site. We would have design meetings and we would program the initial fobs for your entire team. We would program all the time schedules, etc., and test everything. And then typically we train a few people on site, so there's always one person who kind of leads the charge and a couple of backups. And the fobs are very easy to program. We'll load the program right on their computers, give them username, password specific to them, and we train them on how to do it. That doesn't mean, once we train the staff and the installation's over, we disappear and we don't help. If the community ever needs help programming, they can just reach out, contact us. Again, like Amanda said, we're 24/7, so they can reach out and we can always give them a refresher training or walk them through it again.
That's good.
Okay, we have one more. You mentioned that the nurse call can be integrated to the access control and camera systems. What exactly is the purpose of that? Amanda, I think you're going to want me to take that one too.
Yeah, you take that one.
So yeah, what's the purpose of that? So basically the nurse call system, we use it as kind of like the hub. We integrate it to all the other systems, so the phone system, the fire panel, access control, and camera. The main purpose of that is so that all your alerts are flowing through the same system, right? But what it does for the access control is, let's say there's a forced entry or there's a door is left open for too long. You want to be alerted, right? Because especially if it's an electric strike or a maglock door, those need to be secured all the time. So a maglock door, unless there's a fire emergency, should never be left open. And so what that does is, again, you set up escalations within the nurse call system. And the second that door is left open, you want to notify all the nursing staff and maybe the maintenance. So door's left open, it triggers the alert, it contacts them. Hey guys, back patio door left ajar. And they know that that door is open, and then they can go and monitor that. With the cameras, there's an integration into the Sera called the Eyes of Sera. So let's say you have some common area pull cords. Let's say there's one in the pool, for example, and somebody pulls it. There's an emergency, they pull it. What you can do with the Eyes of Sera is now that the system knows there's an alert in the pool, it looks for the closest camera and it pulls that feed up. So you can actually, before you even head to the emergency, see what's going on there, right? Same with a door alert. Let's say the back door was left ajar and it sends an alert through the Sera. The Sera will then pull up the camera closest to that back door to see what's going on. So you can see, was it just accidentally left ajar? Is there somebody trying to enter? Things like that. So hopefully that answers those questions. I think I don't see any other questions there, Amanda.
Okay, I guess we'll just wait for another moment to see if anything else comes up or if there's any follow-ups. And this particular webinar concludes our Senior Living webinar series. We thank you for joining today, and we'll be sending a copy of this presentation to you. If you missed any of the others in the series, which were, the first one was an overview of what Unity can help provide in your community. The second one, we had a specific one on the Status Solutions nurse call. The third was a demonstration of resident engagement. If you'd like a copy of any of these presentations, please reach out, or you can go to the Unity Connected YouTube channel and watch them there. If you have any questions about how Unity can help your community, please reach out to us. And I guess we will, if there's no other questions, we'll thank you very much and wish everyone a wonderful day. Thank you.